In eukaryotic cells, what is the material between the cell membrane and the nucleus called cytoplasm? Which cell structure contains the cell's genetic material and controls the cell's activities? Nucleus. What is the function of the cytoskeleton, a structure that helps cells maintain their shape and internal organization? Which organelle makes proteins using coded instructions that come from the nucleus? Ribosome. Which organelle converts food into compounds that the cell uses for growth, development, and movement? Mitochondria. How is the cell membrane different than the cell wall? The cell membrane is flexible and its shape can be changed as needed. What is the function of the cell membrane? Controls what enters and leaves the cell. Border patrol. What does semi-permeable mean? Allowing certain substances to pass through it but not others, especially allowing the passage of a solvent but not of certain solutes. Hormone binding sites, a site on a membrane protein that is exposed on the outside of the membrane and allows a specific hormone to bind. A signal is then transmitted into the cell. Cell adhesion, dynamic process that is particularly evident where non-adhesive cells rapidly become adhesive. Cell-to-cell communication, to send and receive some of the most important signals that cells within organisms need to transmit. Channels for passive transport. A channel protein transports water-soluble compounds along the concentration gradient across the membrane. A protein pump makes use of stored energy in the form of ATP to move molecules. Immobilized enzymes, restricting the enzyme molecules to a fixed space. Explain how the hydrophobic and hydrophilic properties of phospholipids help to maintain the structure of cell membrane. Cell membranes are made up of a double layer of these phospholipid molecules. Diffusion, the passive movement of material from an area of higher concentration to an area of low concentration. Osmosis, the diffusion of water through a selectively permeable membrane. Osmosis, the diffusion of water through a selectively permeable membrane. Facilitated diffusion, the process of spontaneous passive transport of molecules or ions across a biological membrane via specific transmembrane integral proteins. Active transport, the movement of materials from low concentration to high concentration using a protein carrier that requires energy. Passive transport, movements of materials that does not require energy. Isotonic solution, no net movement of water in or out of the cell. Hypertonic solution, the water moves out of the cell into the solution, causing the cell to shrink. Hypotonic solution, moves from the solution into the cell causing it to swell or break. Peripheral, associated with the surface of the cell. Integral, serve as channel proteins and selectively transport ions for the cell. Hydrophilic, water-loving. Hydrophobic, water-fearing. What is the difference between diffusion and facilitated diffusion? Facilitated diffusion uses carrier proteins to move substances in or out of the cell.